Welcome to the middle school service for students in grades 5, 6, 7, and 8 from Mount Pleasant Christian Church. My name is Mike Shealy. I'm the middle school pastor, and I'll be your host today. It's real simple. It's Labor Day weekend, and so we're going to keep this short and to the point today. As we get started, we do have services at the Student Ministry Center this weekend, and if the weather cooperates, we're going to be going outside and during the service kind of having some fun. Nothing wet or messy this time, but just some outside fun. If you want to join us, that'll be Saturday, 6 to 7, 10 p.m., or Sunday, 9:15 to 10:25 a.m. And we know a lot of families are traveling and going to be gone this weekend, so if you're gone, just check us out. The rest of the month, we'll be here every weekend in September, Saturdays at 6, Sundays at 9:15. All right, we're going to get into a crazy little game today called Animix. You don't need any supplies for it. You're just going to try to guess the name when we combine two different animals together. It's mad science, it's Wacky Weekend, and it's Thursday if you're watching this when it airs originally, so let's have some fun. All right, so here is the game Animix. What do you get when you mix a blank with a blank? Two different animals. We're going to show them to you. You try to guess what you think the animal is. Okay, so here we go. This will make sense in a little bit. But it's kind of weird. If you mixed a tiger and a squirrel, what would you call that animal? If you mix a tiger and a squirrel. If you get close to what we've come up with, you get 100 points. If you don't, you have a different named animal but 0 points. So here we go. A tigerel. And can you imagine that thing jumping off your gutter? Yeesh. All right. How about this mix? A bumblebee and a lion. Little bee helps make honey, takes care of plants. Giant, ferocious king of the jungle. You mix those two together, and what do you get? A bumble lion, and it's about to eat my head. Yikes! Okay, on to the next one. Elephant and iguana. So giant pachyderm animal and the scaly, spiny lizard, iguana. Put them together. Is it big? Is it small? What do you call it? The IGUANA. That actually looks pretty cool. The front and back ends kind of match because the tail and the trunk. Yeah. Okay. How about we do another squirrel one? This time a squirrel and a wolf. Let's go with the Canis family there instead of the cats. Let's go with the dogs. You mix a squirrel and wolf. What would you call it? We think you'd call it a squee-wolf. A squee-wolf. My dog freaks out at squirrels. What would a dog do if it saw a squee-wolf? I don't know. Thankfully, we'll hopefully never find out. How about this one? A leopard and a bird. Both obviously can be found in trees, but when you mix them together, you would get a leopard. Look at the bite on that thing. Ferocious, but very, very small. Okay, next one. A gorilla and an owl. Interesting combination. You mix them together, you get the gorilla. It is both disturbing and fascinating to me to look at that picture of that giant creature staring at you with those eyes. Matter of fact, let's move on. Okay, last one. You mix a cat and a penguin. What do you get? A catguin. Look. That is funny. Whether you're a dog lover or a cat lover, you got to think a catguin is a funny looking puffball of a creature. All right, that's Animix for today. It's weird, I know. It's Wacky Weekend. The other games that we're doing are all socially distant, but they're in person, and so we couldn't recreate them for the screen. If you want to check them out, come by and join us. If you can't make it this weekend, we'll be having more and more games like that on the weekends. You just got to come join us at the Student Ministry Center. Wear a mask, and we'll see you there Saturdays at 6 and Sundays at 9:15 a.m. All right, time to get into our Wacky Weekend lesson tonight. All you need is a Bible, a little bit of a sense of humor, and a willingness to be challenged by a strange Bible story. Check this out. I know you might be thinking, it looks like Mike's playing with his toys, and it's supposed to be lesson time. But here's the deal. This weekend is Wacky Weekend, so we thought we'd add a little wacky to the Thursday night as well. I want to start by this question. We'll get to the toys in a minute, the Funko collectible figures. But here's the deal. Have you ever looked at someone and wondered, I wonder why that happened to them? I wonder what they did to have that consequence. I wonder why they got in trouble. What did they do wrong? We ask that question sometimes. Sometimes it makes sense because we don't want to get in the same kind of situation. But sometimes we ask it almost as a judgment upon somebody when there's a better question we could be asking. And then there's another thing I want to kind of put together today as a kind of a package of 2 for 1. Sometimes when it comes to telling people about Jesus, we get really nervous. Have you ever wondered, well, what if they ask me a question and I don't know the answer? Well, you can say you don't know, right? But I want to show you an example of somebody who had a very simple Jesus story, but was content to share that however it happened. So we'll get to our figures here. Sherlock here is going to be, standing up, is going to be Jesus for us today. Watson is going to represent one of the disciples. In John chapter 9, there's this powerful story, true story that happened with them, and we're going to look at it today, and I'm going to kind of summarize it for you because there's a lot there. We don't have that much time to go through it all. So here's the deal. Jesus and the disciples, in chapter 9, verse 1, it says, as Jesus was walking along, he saw a man who'd been blind from birth. So, Jesus and the disciples see a man who'd been blind from birth. And when they see him, verse 2 says, Rabbi, his disciples asked him, why was this man born blind? Was it because of his own sins or his parents? So the disciples, represented here by Watson, look at this man who's blind, and what they see is someone who's gotten a punishment for something they did wrong. Either he did something wrong or his parents, and that's why he's blind. They ask, why is he blind? It's a punishment from God. Interestingly, Jesus sees the same person they do, but he looks at him and has a different question. So check this out. In verse 3, he says, it was not because of his sins or his parents' sins, Jesus answered. This happened so the power of God could be seen in him. And he goes on to describe some more things there, but then verse 6 happens. Jesus doesn't just walk up and say, hey, you're healed. He gets down in the dirt, he spits, makes mud, and then puts that all over the blind person's eyes. And so the blind person has no idea, I don't think, although he can hear, that that mud was made from Jesus' spit. But Jesus puts the mud on his eyes, and then he says in verse 7, go wash yourself in the pool of Siloam. So the man went, somehow, somebody guided him, he went, and he washed, and he came back, and he could see. And his neighbors and other people who knew him from when he was a child, they show up and they start asking questions. So we have the blind man, we have his neighbors, people that have known him for a long time. They show up and they say, isn't this the man who used to sit and beg? Some said he was, and others said, no, he just looks like him. But the beggar kept saying, yes, I'm the same one. I'm the same one who was there. I used to be able to see. I used to be blind, but now I can see. So they asked, well, who healed you? What happened? And he told them, the man they called Jesus made mud. He didn't say how, which is probably good, and spread it over my eyes and told me to go wash. And I went and washed, and now I can see. Where is he now? They asked. He said, I don't know. So there's this whole exchange that happens here. And the people keep asking. And then the people get a little nervous because the religious leaders show up. And they don't like what Jesus is doing. They're trying to get him in trouble. And so they have to talk to this man. And they ask him questions about how he could see and what's going on. As you follow the story, he gets more and more frustrated. Even his parents just say, we're not going to talk about it. Ask him. Because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to get involved in this big mess. But in verse 26, the leaders said, but what did he do? How did he heal you? And the man replies back and says, I told you once, didn't you listen? Why did you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too? Which ticked them off. That was like the final straw. They get mad. They kick this guy out of the area. They get so upset. They said, you were born a total sinner. Are you trying to teach us? And they threw him out of the synagogue. But then Jesus finds him, and they have a conversation together. And Jesus says, do you believe in the Son of Man? Which is another nickname for Jesus, the Messiah, the rescuer. And the man who used to be blind said, who is he, sir? I want to believe in him. And Jesus replies back and says, you have seen him, and he is speaking to you. In other words, it's me, and now because of me, you can see me. You have seen him. So he said, yes, I believe, Lord, and he worshiped him. This whole exchange is pretty crazy, but here's the deal. We started out with Jesus and his disciples, and when they both saw the man who was blind, the disciples looked at him and wanted to know what had he done wrong to deserve what he was getting. Like he had to be punished for something. Jesus looks at him and he says, how can we help him? What can we do now? Aren't those a great different set of questions? What if we looked at people and instead of saying, I wonder why they are the way they are, I wonder why that happened to them, I wonder why they're in that bad situation right now. What if we ask the question like Jesus, what can we do to help? How can we make their life better? Maybe how can we introduce them to Jesus? And then if we focus on the man who used to be blind and could see, when he goes around answering questions from people, sometimes he says, I don't know. I don't know how he healed me. I don't know how it all worked. I just know that when I encountered Jesus, my life was different. I used to be blind, and now I can see. That's what I know. What if you were to talk to people about Jesus, and they asked you a question you didn't know the answer to? Probably like any other question, you would just say, I don't know. Here's what I know. In my life, I have prayed and seen God answer my prayers. I have a peace because I've been forgiven of my sins because of what Jesus did for me. And I'm trying to live my life like Jesus, loving others the way he did. That's what I know. And I'm happy to tell you more about what I know about Jesus. And if I don't know, we can go look it up together. So don't get all stressed out about, well, what if I tell somebody about Jesus and don't know the answer to the question they ask? Probably they're going to ask a question you don't know the answer to. You just say, I don't know. But you tell them what you do know, just like the man did. And just like Jesus, as we go about our days this week, let's look at people, and instead of trying to figure out what happened to cause them to be in the situation that they're in right now, instead of wondering why somebody's so upset or in a bad mood, let's ask the question, how can I help them? How can I give them just a little bit of a glimpse of Jesus today and make their day a little bit better because of him? Let's pray. God, thank you that we can look at a serious Bible story, even using some fun toys, and bring it to life to remind us that sometimes we ask the wrong question. We want to know the reason things happen, when sometimes it's more important to love and help somebody than to try to figure out the cause of a situation. And sometimes we get all nervous about, what if I tell somebody about Jesus and then I don't know the answer? It looks like we just tell them what we do know, like the blind man did. God, help us this week to look at others the way Jesus did, and to have the simple, bold faith that this man did. He got a whole chapter of John devoted to his story because of the power of you that worked in his life. May we be open to that power so it can change us and the people around us. Help us to live more and more in every way like Jesus. Amen. Hey, that's it from me today. I hope whatever you have planned this weekend, whether you're going somewhere or just chilling out at home, whether you're grilling out, barbecuing, making s'mores, camping out, watching a movie, or just relaxing on a 3-day weekend, enjoy it, and we'll see you later.